All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about the cycles of life. We're going to talk about hard times and how they create strong people. And then from those hard times, those strong people create what? Great times. And great times create weak people. And weak people create hard times. And if you see from this diagram, it is a cycle of life that happens over and over and over again. And I was lucky enough to study this in the last couple of weeks, and there were some really interesting perspectives of this, how this shows up. So if we think about back in the day, World War I, that was a tough time, first big world war. And what came right after the World War? It was the Roaring 20s, like 1920 to 1929. The economy grew by like 43%. Mass production spread, consumer goods entered every household. The modern auto and airline industries started in the 20s. It was a really good time to be alive. So we came from really hard times that created really hard people. And then we went into this really grand time, really easy time. And what does that produce? It produces weak people. So then you have the Great Depression that came around 1929, and you're going to see, it was the worst industrial production between 1929 and 1933. It fell by 47%. Unemployment reached more than 20% during the Great Depression. I mean, it was a really tough time. And what does tough times create? It creates strong people. So what came right after that? It's the wartime output from 1940 to 1945. This is when Rosie rolled up her sleeves and said, let's go, let's get this done. A lot of people went off to war. A lot of women came out of the home and went back to work. You saw the economy grow from 88 billion in 1939 to I think 135 billion just 5 years later. And we're talking about billions in B's back in the day. So that was a lot. GDP skyrocketed 40%. So really good times, really hard times that created really strong people that again ended up in the 1945 to 1973. Really the 50s were kind of the one you think about when you think about great times. This was when the war ended. Everybody was coming home. Everybody was using their GI Bill to get the most education so they could get the best job. 200 billion in war bonds were maturing, so people were getting that money back. There was an overall economy growth of like 37% in the 50s. We're talking like massive, like purchasing power, household goods, everything was great. But during great times, what does that create? Creates weak people. So then you have the inflation woes of the 70s, 80s, and actually even the 90s as well. The oil crisis, productivity fell, the stock market crashed, all these things that you see leading into this recession. So this great time that makes it really easy for people, that creates weak people, that ends up making hard times. From there, we go into the rise of globalization. That's the 90s to like the late 2000s. Government debt increased by 75%. The Eisenhower almost was budgeting or fixing the deficit, and then you get into the 90s, early 2000s, woof, that all disappeared, 75%. But GDP grew by 69%, creating a really good time. Stock market was up 3 times. It literally tripled in that time. What did that lead to? That led to the housing crisis, or actually the red hot housing market first. From about 2001 to 2007, it was amazing. I got in 2004, so I did catch a little bit of that. And then what happened in 2007? Was the economy so robust and people's jobs so robust, that's why the real estate grew like that? They had changed some rules and laws around how to get loans, and all of a sudden everybody could get a loan. And what did that do? That easy time to get money created what? That crash in 2008, 2009. And they call it the Great Recession, but it's really the Great Real Estate Recession because it was all done by the real estate industry. Now, after that, boom, we've got 11 years of growth. It's going back up. Hard times, hard people. Now we're getting into better and better times. Then what happened? The pandemic hit. all of a sudden everything drops again and we all think we're out of jobs, we don't know what to do. It ended up being a really good thing for the real estate market and for a few industries. Some are really struggling, some really did well, so it depended on what industry you were in. But all this cycling up and down, I want you to ask yourself, where are we now? Are we coming off of easy times? So we could consider ourselves moving into that weak mentality? Or are we coming off, some people would say they're coming off hard times, and that means they're gonna come off stronger. What I would argue with you guys is we're coming off of, in real estate terms, pretty great times. And we have the choice to make mistakes and start becoming weaker and weaker, or we can prepare for that next weak market that's coming and get stronger and stronger and stronger. So focus on your growth, focus on your education, join a team or get into a tribe that's focused on your personal growth. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, if you're out there and you're looking for your right tribe, the tribe is gonna push you and grow you, you'll be fine in any market. So stay strong, people.